Dr. Kapoor, and this is Coffee and Crypto, a place in which every week we talk all things crypto. All right, let's talk about what we have for you on the program today. Remember, ETF, something that has been dominating as the biggest trend that will pick up in the crypto space, especially in the region we are from this year. Also, more news coming in on the regulation front. It's not just Russia, but now United States gearing up for a whole new regulation that will be spread across the country. These are very important cues because then, remember, the Prime Minister here in India has said that he will take cues from these global regulations, and according to him, there should be one regulation for crypto across the world. So without any delay, let's dive in. You know, the year 2021 and the first week of 22 as well has been a total roller coaster for crypto markets, right? On the show, we've discussed a couple of times how Bitcoin prices rose to a record high, and that was on the 10th of November last year. But do you know what was Bitcoin's record before the November Blockbuster? Well, it was in October when it nearly hit about $67,000 mark for the first time then. And you know when that was and why that was? That was just after the debut of ProShares Bitcoin Strategy Exchange Traded Funds, better known as ETF, in the United States markets. So what is ETF that has got investors so gung-ho about Bitcoin and the crypto space altogether? Let's talk about that in today's explainer. For starters, exchange-traded funds or ETFs are essentially investment tools that track the performance of a particular asset or basket of assets. This allows you to diversify your investments without actually owning the assets, which is easier than buying or selling individual assets. For example, stock ETFs, which can comprise a basket of stocks to track that particular industry, or commodity ETFs, which do the same for, say, oil or gold. While most ETFs track an index, for example, Nifty Auto Index, cryptocurrency ETF tracks the price of one or more digital coins or tokens. Easy? You with me till now? Now, the reason these exchange-traded funds are important for the crypto world is that they provide a bridge between crypto and the markets. And like common stocks, their price keeps fluctuating. In fact, even crypto ETFs are traded in traditional exchanges and not just crypto exchanges. Get why I said it's a bridge between the two sort of worlds over there? So experts believe that this could minimize risk for investing in crypto, especially for those who don't really have knowledge on how to invest and keep track of crypto markets. And it's an exhausting process keeping tracks of crypto market, but they want to hop on to the bandwagon in some way. Now, the ProShares Bitcoin Strategy ETF, or BITO, was the first ETF in the United States to give investors exposure to Bitcoin future contracts. It went live in New York Stock Exchange on the 19th of October, spurring a bull run in the crypto market. And these contracts basically track and mirror the price of Bitcoin. So now you must be thinking, then why not directly invest in Bitcoin if this is going to mirror the trajectory of Bitcoin? Well, because in this ETF, you're betting not just on Bitcoin now, you're betting on the future of Bitcoin. This also means that you can short sell your Bitcoin ETF shares if you think that the price of the crypto will go down. So several crypto enthusiasts feel that ETF could be the gateway for more liquidity in the crypto market and a wider adoption of crypto as well. Right? Now remember, in India, there is a lot of regulatory uncertainty at the moment about crypto, especially for the use and form of investment. Yes, there is a tax, but regulation, what defines, etc., still unknown and doesn't seem like it's going to come anytime soon. So according to the latest reports, the Securities and Exchange Board of India has barred homegrown mutual fund players from making crypto-related investments until a clear law is in place. Now, while the market regulator has approved another blockchain ETF, the mutual fund company has said that it will not go ahead with this until there is a regulatory certainty on this. Of course, all eyes at the moment are on what government really allows in this space. Also, the big news at this point is that there might be a first in Asia ETF coming in very soon, and we'll tell you all details about that as well. So that was ETF. Let's discuss this further with our guest now. Joining us now is Sharat Chandra. Sharat is a VP Research and Strategy at Earthit. It's a global decentralized self-sovereign identity management platform. And they talk about blockchain, emerging tech in the space as well. Hi Sharat, welcome to CC. Just want to understand your views first on ETF. Where do you see this going? Several experts have said that if there is one thing that really boom in 22, that is going to be ETFs.
Yeah, thanks, Sonal, for having me. So I think ETFs will kind of enable institutional investors to access crypto through their brokerage accounts. So that will simplify the bridge between, as you said, traditional financial markets as well as crypto markets. So it's important to understand that the way we have gold ETFs in India and silver ETF, recently even ICICI Prudential, they launched their silver ETF. So we can think on those lines, and it will allow people who do not have the know-how of holding digital assets. So why ETFs are more popular? Because as a layman, somebody who doesn't understand the technology, they can still get exposure to crypto funds, and they don't need to worry about holding the custody of those assets, right? So there's no risk with respect to losing those assets. So there are two types of crypto ETFs. One is a physical one where an asset management company will actually hold digital assets for you, right? And again, there will be a futures one, the way you have the ProShares Bitcoin ETF. So that the two aspects how these can be, investors can get exposure. Another reason is it's easy as in you can just get access to crypto through your brokerage accounts. Plus, these ETFs are always traded on regulated markets, right? And I think recently even Fidelity, they launched their spot Bitcoin ETF and exchange traded fund in Europe. So this will spur the adoption of crypto, and more institutional players will start moving in.
I see. So this is basically for those, like I said, who don't want to miss the bus on crypto and don't understand it very clearly either. So this is sort of a good way to get started on this. What would you say? What would you say are the things one should look at while getting into ETFs? Of course, in India, we're still waiting for one to actually kick in. Like I said, mutual funds, the SEBI is still deciding on which way we will go. But those who have investment abroad, what do you think are the markers one must be looking at?
I think it's always important to look at the funds which are driving it. For example, the known ones are like Fidelity, VanEck, right, and Vanguard. So the known names, it makes sense to go with the trusted names rather than somebody who just started their own fund. So similarly, we have the concept of coin sets. So some of the players in India, they've started something like coin sets. So they are in certain way mimicking exchange traded funds for the only reason that they're not regulated. They're not ETFs in the true sense, but you can still invest in basket of currencies and get exposure to crypto. But again, the onus of custody will either remain with the exchange or with you, the manner in which you choose to do it.
Right. And would you say, just asking a very basic question for our viewers here, ETF in some way is like the mutual fund, say, of the crypto world? But again, you have to put your mind, and there will be sort of a bouquet of crypto coins in there. So different ETF will look at different collection of coins and thus perhaps give you returns accordingly.
Right. So it kind of simplifies your way of entering into crypto. You don't need to actually understand the protocol or the technology behind all those tokens. So an asset management firm will do that for you. So that way it makes the job very, very easy for any investor who wants to get exposure to crypto. But in certain ways, it also limits the choice of tokens you want to invest in. So there are pros and cons both ways, right? And again, the price discovery is better if you're going with an ETF fund as compared to if, let's say, looking for arbitrage on crypto exchanges, right? So there are pros and cons both ways.
Pros and cons both ways. Now, moving in that direction, Asia's first exchange traded fund or ETF is likely to be launched in this year itself, end of fiscal, we are told. And this is available in the Gift City, the news that NDTV is picking up, a central business center there in Gandhinagar, Gujarat, that has been set up as well. Could you share some details about that?
Right. So since IFSCA is an independent regulator, it makes sense to get this ETF rolled out there first in a regulated sandbox type of environment. And once even the regulators get to know how this is playing out, it can be rolled out to the broader market. And why GIFT City is important? Because the IFSC or International Financial Services Authority, right? So it's established by an act of parliament. So it's an independent regulator with all the powers of SEBI, RBI, and the capital markets regulator. So it's the perfect ground for doing all these experiments.
All right. So this is just sort of getting started on ETF journey in India, and we really hope the adoption happens quickly and the market then opens up for everybody else as well. Thank you so much, Sharath, for joining us on CC.
Thank you.
All right, so that is all about ETF, but like I said, there is big news happening on the regulation front, and this time coming from United States, and Joe Biden, the president there, expected to issue a wide-ranging regulation order as well. And imagine when US does something, there is adoption that takes place across the world. We'll be talking all about that on the other side of this very quick break. Welcome back. So we discussed ETF right now, and the big buzzword in the world of cryptocurrency at the moment is regulation. When will it come? How will it come? In what form will it come as well? So for starters, let's tell you what Joe Biden is saying. We don't know details of what that order will have, but he is saying that the order will look at the measures to protect consumers, businesses, and investors. So what Joe Biden is saying is that in the coming days, there will be a regulation on crypto that comes in, that will be in place in the United States, which will cover a host of issues. Remember, United States, particular states over there do have their own crypto regulation, but there's no world sort of one regulation that goes to everybody. Similarly, European Union has its own regulation. Russia recently got its own regulation out as well and has looked at crypto over there, not just as an asset class, but in certain cases like a commodity as well. So we thought we'll discuss this in a little bit of detail. So joining us now is Prasanna Lohar, Chief Economic Officer of the DCB Bank, founder of the India Blockchain Forum as well. Welcome to CC, Prasanna. Also with us back is Dr. Aruna Sharma, former member of RBI's Digitization Committee as well. Thank you for joining us again, ma'am. Prasanna, let me begin with you. At the moment, regulation is all that anybody talks about the minute you talk about crypto at the moment. Taxation, well, almost clear. You could be happy about it, not happy about it, but at least there is taxation now. But regulation still in the works. Taking cues from global markets at the moment on what other countries are doing, what do you think should be India's policy or outlook moving forward, especially when you already have heard from the Prime Minister saying that there is need at the moment of a global regulation?
Yeah, I think we need to understand how Indian finance works, right? And we sit on such a great central bank and those many innovations just happening with the RBI. We have seen since last so many years, we have a very good robust financial ecosystem, and it is all around the legally accepted tenders, right? So INRs. And when we talk about globally what China is driving, or how Hong Kong is driving, or US is driving, Europeans are driving, everybody is looking at the cryptocurrency in a different way. So I go with what our honorable finance minister and PM has said. We should have a global regulation around that. So fundamentally, if you look at our regulations around France, it drives around your KYC, AML, CFT kind of a regulation, which is not available with the crypto, which is a fundamental thing, right? So let's look at how bank operates and what is that bank have done. So bank has a very good robust regulation which takes care of every customer, safeguards every customer for frauds, any of the things which happens, right? So customer journey starting from onboarding, servicing customers, or engaging customer for any of their disputes, everything is available in form of a regulation with RBI, which is not available in form of any of the cryptos. There are 17,000 plus cryptos, or there are mainstream some of these cryptos. We don't have any clue around that. So that is why it is very, very important. Every government, although they are looking at, but the way we drive centrally with IMF, all these regulations, right? And when we are looking at how blockchain can be utilized for a CBDC kind of a ecosystems, right? So makes sense. We should have a kind of a global regulation around this, around KYC,
yeah,
AML.
Prasanna, nobody is saying we don't need a regulation. Everybody is in fact saying we need it now. We needed it in fact yesterday. Perhaps we needed it before we got into taxes and the rest of it as well. Dr. Aruna has been talking about it very proactively. Ma'am, your thoughts on which way do you think US first will go on this? We understand, is asset class, and again I come back to the question of different buckets and defining it in a different forms of asset class also very important. There can't be one way in which one looks at crypto, considering there are so many products in the market.
You are absolutely right. And besides US, I think US regulations will be taking lessons from what is happening across the globe. I would like to highlight about Singapore also, which is considered to be, as on date, very
crypto headquarters of the world,
yes,
one can call them that.
Yes. So how they went about it? They went about Monetary Authority of Singapore when the crypto prices were rising sky high in January. They sort of came up with under consumer protection laws for an informed decision to the consumers. So in the sense, a better, clear information as to the speculative nature or the high and troughs and ridges and everything that happens in the crypto world. Then, if you look at it, they went for the Payment Services Act, which take care of the AML and the CFT, what has been talking about, and that is what it made it more user-friendly. Now, when we are talking about how and looking towards the US regulation, it is very important that we look at it from the various dialogues that is happening and the steps that are happening between the government and the statements of the RBIs, which is coming from time to time. So, even though on the face
statements
of it,
from RBI coming, I need another segment for that altogether. We'll talk about that also in a bit, but complete your point, ma'am.
Yeah. So basically, if you look at it, they may sound contradictory, but this is a churning process, and I'm very sure from this, the clarity will come out. So one, whether what you rightly said, crypto as an asset and sub-asset class when we go about it, some are commodities, some are assets. There was a full-page advertisement, which I'm still wondering with one of the leading film heroes advertising about the entertainment world, right? And there they are using the word crypto very loosely. So that was something very surprising. So these kind of things are also happening. So regulation, the clarity of regulation as early as it comes is very, very important. We cannot wait for US to first evolve and then come up. We have our thought process very clear. So on that, we should keep on coming with the regulations, as clear as that, by defining this. And the ETF will be something like, you have a wealth managers who advise you where to invest, by the leading banks and everything. So something on similar lines, ETF will emerge. So in the sense, you will have more and more people investing in crypto who are fence-sitters today.
Right. In fact, ETF is a brilliant way of not really jumping into the market straight away, but just watching out. It's like a mutual fund in a way. And you don't have to be part of the crypto world. You can be just part of, you can pick up an ETF which invests in crypto. But currently, mutual funds aren't doing that in India because we are unclear about what sort of regulation really are.
Yeah, because SEBI has said so. So therefore, it is very important, very important. As Singapore has gone ahead step by step by step, we should allow. You have talked about taxation, which needs fine-tuning, and government has come up with a statement that yes, they will have a relook on the percentage of tax and what is to be taxed. Because we have to, in fact, we have to define VDA also. That is, what is this virtual digital asset? So it has to go with the definition, what comes under taxation, then what are the checks on AML and SIF. So,
absolutely,
so one
all
by
of these
one,
things.
it has to come out. We can't wait for a, the best of the document. We cannot wait for that.
Yeah. And Dr. Aruna Sharma almost reading our minds on talking about statements over there. So let me bring that graphic up next as well on what the RBI deputy governor said. He said banning cryptocurrency is the most sensible option. That's right. That's what the deputy governor of RBI said some days ago, also saying that cryptocurrencies are akin to Ponzi schemes or may even be worse. In fact, he went on to say that banning cryptocurrency is the most sensible way to move forward. We've seen cryptocurrencies are not amenable to definition as a currency, asset or commodity. In fact, he went ahead to say that as well. And they also say that cryptocurrencies have no underlying cash flow. They have no intrinsic value as well. So I just want to make sense of this. And Prasanna, come in on this. when the government seems to be very progressive towards RBI, no less than the Prime Minister of this country on a world forum has gone ahead to say that there needs to be regulation, and yes, there are pros and cons. We need to sort of take care of interests of the investors, but also flourish. You can't, I mean, in today's world, one can't really keep crypto away. Unless you're China, of course, and then there are different ways to deal with that. But these everyday statements by RBI, I mean, and they continue to come. What do you make of them?
So if you read the overall statement done at RBI, it is not only single statement by saying that select banning. They have very well narrated the whole journey of a technology, blockchain technology. They have narrated the definition of the cryptocurrencies primarily in their statement, how it can be utilized. They have narrated which are those crypto. They also said that only 2 cryptos are taking the 61% of the whole crypto industries. Say, if you talk on the mainstream crypto of a Bitcoin, is being manipulated, used by only 100 people. 13% of Bitcoin is owned by that, right? Now, if you compare the whole ecosystem of cryptos along with the financial ecosystem, we all know how well regulated this ecosystem. And in the core statement, they have narrated how it can be done. What is the lacking, right? Say, example, it's a private, right? It is not something which is governed by government. And although there are no government controls, and the primary purpose of the cryptos is primarily around is a private, and it is not.
I'm not sure if there are no government controls. I think there is identity, but it is not disclosed. I think that's where crypto is. Yeah, but quickly finish your point. Yeah.
And the way earlier I was talking about the way you have a banking ecosystem, the KYC and a lot of controls. We have a standardization of PCI DSS, which takes care of the safeguarding your personal information. And all these things where it is defined for a crypto, right? It's nowhere defined, right? Something goes wrong every day for the same customer, where he will go, right? So that is why it's very, very required. And ultimately, our Honorable Prime Minister has announced, there has to be a regulation in the right direction.
So what Prasanna is saying is that this is a push. This is a push for the government to come out with regulation faster.
Absolutely.
But these statements are saying encourage the government to come out with regulation faster.
Yeah, absolutely. I think through the budget, the way it is announced, I think things are moving on the faster direction. At the same time, things are moving in a right use cases, like announcement of a digital rupee will give a lot of other use cases which crypto has not given to the country.
Right.
So we have to bring some equilibrium. Let's see how it can come. I'll go with what RBI said, but I will go with there will be a lot of many more things or many more announcements will certainly will happen.
All right. Listen to the RBI, listen to the caution, also listen to the finance minister, also listen to the prime minister, and then apply your own brain. As they say, do your own research over here when it comes to crypto. That's all the time we have on the program. Thank you both for joining us. That's it. We could pack on CC this week. We'll see you again next Friday at 6:30. Bye-bye.